Good morning and welcome to your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts, and this podcast has been bringing you conversations with authors, entrepreneurs, mentors, and business leaders for 18 years now. I'm so happy about that. I'm shocked, but I'm very happy. And we're honored to be ranked in the top 1.5% of podcasts worldwide. My guest today is Diana Fritz, and she is a seasoned executive leader, an author, a cancer survivor, and a passionate advocate for authenticity. I can't even say that word, authenticity, resilience, and meaningful impact. She is also the author of an amazing book that I will tell you about in just a minute. And this episode of Your Partner in Success Radio is sponsored today by Damon Limby. He is the CEO of Learnit, Lernit, and he is the author of the Learn It All Leader, Mindset, Traits, and Tools. Damon is passionate about helping individuals and organizations thrive, and he does that through continuous learning and leadership development. His work really is a must-read for anybody looking to grow personally and professionally in today's ever-evolving business landscape. So, Damon, thank you for supporting this episode and for your commitment to empowering leaders everywhere. Again, go to Learnit, Lernit.com, and you can find out all about him. Now back to my guest. With more than 25 years of experience across executive leadership, operations, human resources, business planning, and technology, Diana Fritz is absolutely known for helping individuals and organizations lead with clarity, courage, and values. And her journey, and we're going to talk about this, her journey through adversity, including the loss of an eye due to cancer, shaped her belief that our greatest challenges often become our greatest qualifications. And today she helps leaders turn lived experience into impact, influence, and stronger human connection. And I think I mentioned this earlier. She is also the author of this fantastic book. It's in front of me right now, Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. And I highly recommend that it belongs in your entrepreneurial library. Diana, good morning. Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio.
Good morning, Denise. I just love being on this with you. And congratulations on 18 years.
I'm shocked. I'm still shocked. When I looked at how long it's been, I went, holy cow, I think I'll throw it a party or get it a driver's license. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I get to meet people like you from all over the world. And to me, you become my mentors. So thank you for being here.
I am honored. Thank you.
Listen, I have noticed, and we talked about this a little bit in the green room, that when people live through serious health challenges, they often go inward in a deep, deep way and come out like you did, stronger, clearer, and more grounded. And that feels very connected to the message of your book, Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. The idea that we survive often becomes the very thing that shapes how we lead and serve. So I guess my question, Diana, is how did that show up for you as you were writing the book?
I think about writing the book as well as I just started to finish the Audible version of the book. And so reading it out loud has been impactful for me to just reflect on my own story and lessons from that. And I am humbled by the perspective that was gained going through the journey. I certainly can go back to people in my life, like my grandmother, my parents, my high school basketball coach, that helped to ground me and helped with that foundation. And it's just I get teary, like, going back through the story and just looking at the lessons learned, but then the opportunities provided to me by realizing that, yes, I do have this unique look about me. I have one eye with a skin flap and I stand out in a crowd, but that gives me a unique opportunity to connect with people, and whether it's all ages, right, from a child to an adult, to connect with people and to answer their question of, Diana, if I were you, I'd be hiding. And here you are, like standing up, smiling. Help me understand how I get to do that or how I can do that. And that is just very humbling to me and just a reminder of I'm not done yet. I'm still here.
Why would people say you should hide? I just flinched when I heard you say that.
I've had multiple people, whether it's after I've gotten done speaking or people I've known for a series of years, or even doctors look at me and say, Diana, you are trying to use your story to help others. And many people may not even be alive right now because they would have hidden, not have felt comfortable going forward, or just the grind, right, of going through what you go through would have done them in because they don't have the foundation and the grounding and the desire to keep moving forward or to use their story to help inspire or serve another.
But that makes sense. It's painful, but it makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the central message of the book. And when I said earlier that this really does belong on entrepreneurial library shelves, and listen, y'all, if you don't have your personal entrepreneurial library, start building one. You really do need one. I'm looking around in my office, also known as the command center, and I have 3 bookshelves in here. I need a 4th one, but I don't have I don't have any wall room. And there are hundreds of books in here, and every book in here has been gifted to me by people like you. And I have read every single one of them. They are important books. And as I mentioned earlier when we were in the green room, in so many ways, my guests and the authors of these books that are gifted to me become my mentors. So, and I love this book. So, y'all listen, get the book. It's on Amazon. So, how do you think the book invites leaders to rethink qualification, confidence, and impact? What has been your experience with that?
I think it's in a few different ways, right? I would say, one reminder that I comes to mind frequently, and I was listening to you introduce me today, is that many times people think I'm not a leader. And I would challenge that and just state that everybody has the opportunity to be a leader. And the most difficult person for me to lead is myself. And if I wasn't um, grounded in leading myself well through this cancer journey, I probably also wouldn't be, talking with you today. The other aspect of the book that I think helps and resonates with leaders, within like corporate or business, is that my goal in this was to be really authentic and transparent. Not everybody has a cancer journey that's going to read this book, but we all know somebody that's impacted by cancer. I mean, that's, I would say, a guarantee. And one of the biggest struggles for leaders in connecting with their team or their customers, per se, is they're not willing to be authentic and transparent. They're not willing to admit where they make mistakes or where they didn't quite listen well, or just was a bad moment. They're not willing to be that authentic and real with people. And that greatly impacts the trust that they can build with the people around them. And so my hope is that's a common theme and a strong theme through my book and my story, is that I just want to be real and authentic. I want to be relatable because that's how people can connect with me and learn to trust me and to move forward with me, whether it's personally or as a leader within a corporate environment or a nonprofit environment or a volunteer environment. We need to be real and authentic and transparent about where we get it wrong and what we learned, and where we get it right and what we learned, so that we can truly help the people around us.
And I firmly believe that the hardest person to lead is yourself. I have arguments constantly with myself. I'll sit myself down and say, Denise, what? And then off we go. But I'm constantly saying, you know, well, I'll be honest with you. The question I ask myself daily is, what are you tolerating? Which takes you down a rabbit hole. But you have to be honest.
Yes, you do. I often ask myself, what am I trying to control, right?
Oh, good one.
Which
Yeah.
your question is good too. And I think, the cancer journey was something that was very instrumental for me personally to learn. There's a lot of things within business or at my home life, right, or parenting that I can try to control, right? Just grab the answer, right, and keep moving forward. With a cancer journey, I there's a lot less I can control. The main thing I can control in any aspect of life, right, is how I respond. I can control that. Um, and that has certainly been an area of my personal growth is around just the patience and understanding and what I can control and what I can't, and still leading, positively through that.
I love that, and it does make so much sense because it's easy. I'm guilty of this. It's easy to just sit down and rock back and forth and suck your thumb for a while, but then you have to pull your head out and say, "It's not working. What do I do next?"
Yes, and through my, cancer journey, when I was first diagnosed, which was 12 years ago, next month, my children were little, almost 2 and 4. And it's been so important to me because they're the two most important people that I have the opportunity to lead on this earth. And it was so important to me that I was a positive example to them on leading through tough things, that they saw a person that still showed up for them, that still fought, to be positive and to enjoy life and to add value to others and not become a victim to what was happening, but instead be a victor. And they have been such an inspiration to me through this journey. And I just, I'll get, teary when I go back through and look at the pictures I put in the book and see how little they were when we started and see where they are now and just go, okay, God, thank you for the opportunities that I've had to show them that bad stuff is going to happen in our lives, but we still get to choose and show up in a positive way.
I love the pictures. I'm looking at the picture on page 6. I guess that's your children and their grandparents?
That on page 6,
Yeah, grand and
that is actually me.
really?
I am the tiniest little child on there with my grandparents because
Oh.
that's the chapter about my grandmother and how she influenced my life, and so I wanted to put in a picture of her.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at it again. I can't believe I missed that because I sticky noted that. But you've got terrific pictures all over this book, but they they resonate because they're telling the story. What you went through, what happened, your surgeries. I'm looking at page 56, and here you are with an eye patch. You were very young.
Yeah, I was turning 40, and the type of cancer that I have, sebaceous carcinoma, at that time, it was, it's still a very rare form of cancer, so it's not gonna hit, it's not something that companies are trying to find a cure for, because it's rare. But my doctor at Bascom Palmer, Dr. C, he was like, "Diana, the majority of people that have this, even though it's not a lot of people, are over, like, 70, and, we would just remove the eye right away." But we didn't, I had a whole life ahead of me, and so we worked for 9 years to save the eye, but eventually, we needed to remove the eye. But I was young, and on page 47, I don't know if you saw that picture, I do have a picture of how little my boys were. And, um, I that was so important to me to have those photos done with them because I had no idea, what the journey was gonna be like, and I so wanted them to have good pictures of their mom to look back on. And I'm thankful I'm still here with them, and I can look back in that and remember, just the mix of emotions getting those photos done and how important it was for me for them to have good photos of them with their mom.
It
Before
is.
surgery.
It's a terrific photo. You can feel the love. I mean, you can really feel it through the page.
Well, I love to hear that. Those boys are very dear to me, and we have gone through many life lessons together, and we'll continue to go through them because now I've got a junior in high school, but um, the lessons will keep continuing. But I am always blessed when I'll hear, one of their friends' parents mention to me, "Diana, I asked your son how you're doing and how you're holding up." And his response is, "My mom just keeps fighting and she's just always positive and she's always looking for ways to help other people." And that just makes my heart smile because that means I'm certainly not perfect, but they are seeing the good side and the positives through me living out this journey.
And that spreads out, doesn't it? Everybody you connect with that shows up and it teaches lessons, even if they don't know it at the moment. They're learning lessons from your experiences as a single mother, as an executive, as a cancer thriver. I mean, those lessons are being taught whether you know it or not. Trust me, they're
Yeah.
being taught.
Yes, they are, and it's, you mentioned you have the question for yourself every day. I'm a big, I'm a journaler, so I look back in my journal and just look at, write out, okay, what are my lessons learned from the prior day? I strive each day to identify somebody to add value to, like intentionally. I always want to add value to people and not make life about me. But I look to, okay, who's that one person today that I need to go out of my way for to add value to? And then I evaluate, how did I do? And I miss the mark some days, but the important part is that I reflect and go, where did I miss the mark? How do I get better today? How do I, continue to do better and just personally grow? Um, I hope someday my children pick up my journaling and reflections. So far, they're not too into it.
Diana, can you hear me? Hmm. I have no idea what happened. Okay, so I may have to email you, but I'm going to keep talking until you can pop back in. So, what we're talking about today with Diana Fritz, we're talking about how adversity shaped her leadership approach and sense of purpose, and moving from self focus to service, and why challenges deepen leadership capacity and reframing difficulty. This is an important one. Reframing difficulty is a source of, now I can't even talk, of empathy, clarity, and influence. And I see I just lost her in the dashboard, but hopefully she'll call back in. If not, this is a very important topic and we'll revisit it and start over again as soon as we can. But her book, she talks a lot about what it truly means to be uniquely imperfect and uniquely qualified. And there are lessons from her experiences as a single mother, as I mentioned earlier, executive and cancer thriver. And there are just so many things that you can learn from this book. As I mentioned before, I've talked with a lot of people on this show in particular who are cancer survivors, and I have noticed from every single one of them that they changed deeply and profoundly because they were fighting, they were learning, they were digging deep into who they are, what their purpose is here, what's going on, what can I bring to the world. I witnessed that with my brother. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a double lung transplant survivor. He went into the hospital literally not expecting to wake up or go home again. And it did change him. It really did. Diana, you're back. Hi, I see you. I don't know. You just went boop and you were gone, but I kept talking. So, anyway, thank you for coming back. I was worried. I was just saying, well, this is too important a topic to not try again. So, and we may, and I mentioned this in the virtual green room. This is an important topic, and I do want you to come back again in the new year. And I'm asking you on the radio, so you can't tell me no, just so you know.
I would absolutely say yes, regardless. So,
Okay, good. Good, good. Anyway, pick up where we left off if you even remember what we were talking about.
I was wondering where I was talking about my boys and my journal reflection practice, where you were sharing that you ask yourself a question each day, and how important my journal is to me to set some, just be intentional about where my opportunity is to add value to another person or a group of people in my day each day, and then to reflect and how did I do? And if I missed the mark, how do I continue to improve and just look for ways to add value to others and make sure that life's not about me. It's about the opportunity I have to impact others. And I think that's where I was at,
You
talking about
were.
that.
The last
Okay.
thing I wrote down before we went radio silent was, "Where did I miss the mark?" So
Yeah.
you're spot on.
Okay. Where did I miss the mark? And just go through that. And I also work to, I'm very open with my kids. They know I get up at 5 a.m. every day. I spend time like in quiet and reflection. And I will buy them journals, and they're not quite ready to do that. But I pray that someday that's a part of their cadence as well. Just to be looking for the opportunity to serve and add value each day, and then reflect on each day just to see how they did. And really helps me to um, remember that life's not about me, right? I am here on this earth, and I have the opportunity to impact others, and that makes life worth living. Is my view.
And I'm glad you're talking about journaling because I have a basket full of the most gorgeous journals you've ever seen. Each one of them has an epic blank page. My intention
Mm,
has always been good, but I just never have made it. So this weekend, I sat down and I grabbed the ones. There's one in particular that I really like, and it's called One Focus because I don't know about you, but my brain it's a squirrel brain. It runs around and says, "Hey, Denise, what are you doing?" So I grabbed that one because, excuse me, focus right now is very important to me. And once I started writing in it, I went, "Well, this isn't hard. Why don't you do this?" And then I flipped back a few pages and went, "Oh," because you'll remember things just by glancing back a day or 2 or a year or 2. It's like, "Oh, that's pretty interesting. Oh, I meant to do that," or "What the heck was I thinking?" You go through all these things, but it takes you back.
yes, it does. I found it really helpful when writing my book to pull out all those old journals from 12 years ago, and it was reflective to look at different things I had written down over the years and I hadn't done. And one of them was, writing a book and looking for opportunities to speak and share my story. And so that helped me to go, okay, Diana, you're still here. So you need to get that done. That was really impactful for me to just have that realization that I had wanted to do it and I hadn't acted. And I think it's really important to have that time of reflection. We're almost at the end of the year, and I'm gonna hide for a day, maybe 2, and go back through my journal and photos from this year and, look at, okay, these are the areas where I feel like I'm most gifted in or most important, where I need to focus my time, and I go back and how did I do? Looking through the year, and how do I need to adjust to go through 2026 and beyond?
I'm doing the same thing. In fact, I spent a lot of time with my calendar, um, saying, "Okay, this is what I'm going to do on every Saturday." I'm getting very, very, very focused, and I'm proud of myself for that because it's not something I've been very great at. But after reading your book and reading a couple of other books on the weekends, I read a lot because I have 3 podcasts every week, and those are just before you come in on my show, I read your book again. So I've read it I read them 2.5 to 3 times. This weekend was the 3rd time, and I
Mm.
will not mark up a book. My library my childhood librarian would rear up and get me with a ruler. I know she would. She'd come up out of her grave. But I added more sticky notes to it, so it's getting kind of fat. In fact, it's quite fat. I'm looking at it going, "Okay." But you're talking Let me see, there was a couple of places that really facing change. This
Mhm.
is, on page 123, and you were talking about the week before Thanksgiving, and here we are at the end of the year, but you've had a very busy life. I mean, taking care of your health, taking care of your family, taking care of your business. Was there ever any point where you just said, "I can't do this?" Or and I hate that word, I don't use the word "can't." I substitute, "I won't do this." But did you ever have those moments when you said, "What am I doing?"
I definitely had moments of pause, and I think that was that that chapter or that season. I can remember I was going through immunotherapy treatment and watching the side effects just start to hit me, and I just kept reading things about, losing an eye or an eye for an eye, and I was going, "Okay, am I fighting so hard to save my eye that I'm not fighting for the right thing?" And if this treatment is going to impact my stomach, well, I would rather have a healthy stomach for the rest of my life. I can live with one eye. And so it just forced me to pause and just think about, what I was pushing for, and was I pushing for the right thing? And so as I started to ask myself those questions, and I was pretty transparent in that chapter, I shared some of my notes from my journal and notes to my doctors, in that chapter, and it just hit me going, okay, maybe I just need to let go of this eye. And with that came a lot of change. I can remember it had hit me going, okay, this is the eye. It's time to take the eye before I really process the impact. I don't think I really cared about my appearance as much as, okay, I want to live. I want to hit my 50th birthday. And so I was processing, one way, and people around me, which I'm so thankful for. I have an army, a band, I don't know what I wanna call it, but I have a band of supporters and encouragers around me, and it was just so interesting, the lenses that they had in terms of the change. Are you ready for that change? Are you ready for what you're gonna face? And, I the patient, right, whether it's me or another cancer patient, everybody's gonna have a different lens, and so it's so great to be transparent about what you're thinking through and open to allow people to question as well what they see the changes, because it's just so helps you to prepare, and to be at ease with what you're gonna navigate through when you're open to those questions when you're navigating through change.
Right. And at the end of that chapter, you have a reflection, and it says here, "The work version of Diana started to share an agenda prior to every meeting with your medical team, and you were also more prepared than ever with a list of questions and the confirmations needed." And it goes on, but there's a bullet point here, "Reading back through this time in my journey brings much emotion and gratitude." That's important. "Today is available to you and me. Are you making the most of today?" And that hit me. That really
Mm,
did. Because we don't, we kind of float through life. I do. I float through life. I'm always busy, busy, busy. I'm either in the kitchen because I love to cook. I'm building a website because I think in HTML, or I'm speaking with somebody like you. And at the end of the day, I'm like, what did I get done today? I don't even know. So
yeah.
I have to be what this taught me, and I was writing in my journal over the weekend, that my question is, am I making the most of each day? And then the next question is, what was this day?
Mm.
So thank you for teaching me that.
You're welcome. It is something that I keep teaching myself because it's easy for all of us to get so distracted. Um, because when I first started to write this book, right, I probably didn't have my phone with me as much as we do today. And so it's a challenge for me to just keep that practice and not allow all the things coming at me to distract me from today, right? Or the moment, and making sure that I make the most of those moments. And that is with my unique look, I that's another bar that I have for myself because I can't go to the grocery store or to a local restaurant without standing out. I don't try to hide my unique look, but I don't know that I could if I really wanted to try. But that is either an opportunity for me to grasp that people are going to remember me. So let's have them remember me well, right? That I was the person that smiled, the person that was kind, and the person that showed up and cared about others. I do not want them to remember me as somebody that's bitter or somebody that was selfish or that type of thing. And it puts a high bar on me to make sure that I make the most of today and in the moments I have to make an impact on people around me.
I love that. When you're out and about, do people stop and ask you?
It really depends. Children often will just pause and turn around, maybe run into things because they're trying to figure out what's what's up with her. And I will look for opportunities to engage with them and talk with them and let them ask questions because I
Oh,
love their
good.
curiosity
Yeah.
and I don't want them to lose their curiosity. I am working on some little stickers to hand out to children that just something to encourage them to go, "It's okay that you asked me, and I want you" if there's anything that they can remember from me is just be grateful, right? Like, they look at me because I have one eye, and they have lots of questions, awesome questions, but I also want them, whenever they see me, to go, "Wow, thank you that I have 2 eyes," and just to be so it's a reminder for them to be thankful. I'm thankful I have 1. Adults, don't aren't often as open to asking those questions, but I do love it, when they do, and I, would just use it as an opportunity to share my story and my journey with them.
And I'm glad you talked about the children because I had written down, and we have not talked about this before. It just popped into my little pea brain. Are you going to write a book for children?
Yes,
Oh,
I
good.
have that on my list for 2026 to do, a book for children with the same title or similar title, Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified, but tie into some of the great questions that children have asked me and how it applies to them. One of my favorite books that I have in my library is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's a version of that for teens and also a version for children. And I've always loved that concept and of breaking it down, right, depending on the age group because the message applies. And so I will write that in 2026, a children's version of my book that just complements how they ask great questions and how they are uniquely qualified to add value to people too.
They don't have filters.
No.
Kids have no filters, and I appreciate that about them because I don't either. I never grew up to be, filter led. I just don't have them. I mean, I try. I try not to do anything that's going to be remarkably stupid. I don't always manage it, but if I have a question, I ask it.
Which is a great skill to keep. I spend time right now in this season of my life um, serving as an interim leader for a private school, and it's interesting to watch the how the curiosity fades in the children as you go from preschool, elementary to middle school and high school as like peer pressure and just what you're going through, right, as a youth growing up changes. The curiosity changes a little bit and it's not as comfortable. And I just want to help them not to lose that because curiosity is key, not just in asking questions of people, but it's also so key in navigating through conflict or when I'm frustrated or when I don't like somebody. Like, ask yourself some questions, right? Why are you feeling that emotion before you just spit out the emotion, right? That curiosity is a great skill that we don't want to lose throughout our lifetime.
It is, and I was having a conversation with myself this morning because I have a client that I'm just about done with, but the truth is when we're done, we're done. I just
Mm,
don't have any respect for him at all. And I was asking myself this morning, why? What happened? Because this is somebody I really used to like. Now I can't stand him. And I don't know what happened, if it's me, if it's him, if it's a combination of the both, but I'm trying to figure out, can I get past this?
Mm,
It ain't easy. That's all I got to say. But but when that new book is ready, call me. I'll get you back on the show.
okay. All right. So I will. I have a few other books in my list too to work on. So I will keep you posted.
And thank you. And you mentioned Stephen Covey, one of my favorite books. I have almost all of his, but his daughter, Cynthia Covey Howler, wrote Live Life in Crescendo with him. It was the last book that he wrote, and it was basically a biography that he asked her to write because he was already, he had dementia. It's a
Mm,
fantastic book. If you haven't read it, read it. Live Life in Crescendo.
okay. I have not read it, so I wrote it
Oh,
down.
you'll love it, I think. What else do you want to share with our audience? Because we have about 30 minutes. I just don't want to get in your way. So I know you've got a lot to share. So I'm going to get out of the way for a little bit.
Um, when I have the opportunity to speak with people, I find it really important for them to reflect and think about. Have the book in the title, Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. And I'll have people ask at times, okay, so does that mean that when I go through an adversity, cancer, or whatever the adversity may be, that I'm uniquely qualified to serve and I can help somebody else? And I pause and say, well, only if you are navigating through it positively and looking at it as an opportunity to make an impact. If you are um, being, drugged through the sand per se with the adversity you're facing, and you're bitter and you're a victim, then you are not really uniquely qualified to help somebody else. You may pull them down with you. And that has just been an important reminder to me, is that I have scars, very visible. It's an opportunity for me to shine through the scars and to help somebody else through my scars. And I need to keep seeing it that way. The moment I become bitter or the victim mindset, I lose my opportunity to help somebody else. In fact, I might pull them down the wrong way. I might hurt them on their trajectory. And so that's a really important reminder for me personally, is it's about others, not me.
And I've noticed people who are just deeply irritable or angry or just ticked off at the world. I run. I will
Mm,
not be around them. I feel sorry for them. I really do. But they are not going to bring their toxicity anywhere near me. And they could be a family member. I'm not standing it. Just like,
mm.
nope, nope, you have to go now. Bye.
I agree. That's an area that I've spent a lot of time on with my business and corporate role, is around company values and culture. And it is very disheartening to see when companies aren't grounded with what their values are as an organization, and they don't hold the team to those values, and the leaders don't lead those values. It can take down a company or an environment or customers, right? With that negativity that fills in, because when there's like a gap in communication or a gap in consistency in leadership, negativity is what fills the gap. And that can, take down companies, take down teams. And we can watch that in all areas of our life. And that's an area I have a lot of passion around, in terms of, the in helping businesses and teams, is around building those common values as a team, and then how do we hold each other accountable to it and keep moving forward so that we can win together and we can make a positive impact as a company or as a team and for our customers. And it makes me sad whenever I'm in environments and I see the negativity take over because they're missing, as a team and a company, missing their moments and their opportunities.
Do you I've seen this before too, and I still see it even though I'm an introvert and I'm rarely around people by choice. I like people just fine for 59 and 3/4 minutes. After that, I gotta go. But I'm not joking, I've timed it. But I've been in situations where you walk in the door and you can feel it and you can identify that person without even meeting them. Yeah, the misery is just coming off of them in waves. And I catch myself wondering, "What's wrong? Can I help them?" And they go, "Nope, nope, nope, I'm leaving." I get away from I'm a coward. I don't because I've tried before to talk with people, and I wind up clutching my stomach. It's just who they
Hmm.
are. It's who they are, and they're going to keep being that until they decide they need to do something different.
Yes, until there's something that hits them that they
Right.
realize.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you don't know what that is going to be. I can remember working through years ago. Um, at a company I was a part owner in, we navigated through using John Gordon's book, The No Complaining Rule, which is a fabulous book. And we incorporated that into our culture with, okay, this is what a complaint is. It's mindless, right? And you're complaining to people and you're not complaining to anybody that can do anything about it. And you don't have a solution. And we went through a whole shift as a company to help call each other out when there was a mindless complaint. And then we shifted and provided them ways to make a justified complaint, which means I I have a problem, I have a few solutions that I can present, and I'm talking to somebody that can do something about it. And that really helped people not just in the workplace, but at their home life too. Because if I'm negative and complaining at my workplace, that's how I am at home too. Like
Oh,
it doesn't
absolutely.
um,
Yep.
it doesn't go away, when you walk in the door at your house, and so those are things that I, have just been honored to be a part of as whether it's my role as an executive or as a facilitator within a company that I consult with, to help people to see their blind spots and help them to grow and stretch because it not only helps them at work, but it helps them at home. And that is just, I'm just humbled by the opportunity to get to do that and help people see where their opportunities are.
Do you have any examples you can share of where somebody was just so negative and so upset about life in general that you were able to, help them shift from whatever it was that was bugging them to self-worth?
You know, one thing that stands out to me, I had worked for a company for 17 years and was an executive leader, and then we sold and the company, and then about 5 years later, I had the opportunity to come back and work with a similar amount of people in a different line of business, and, um, some of the same team that I had worked with years ago were still there, and they walked into my office, and they're like, "Diana, we have some things we wanna talk to you about." But we know that we need to come with solutions, that you are not going to accept us just coming in to complain. We know that we need to have solutions. And I just smiled and I said, I love that. Let's do this together.
Right.
Um, because I mean, I hadn't worked with them in 5 years, but they knew that I wasn't going to just sit and listen to complaining and we needed to be solution oriented. And we had a great discussion and we were able to make impact and change some things. And that's what I want people to understand, right? When we're just mindlessly complaining, nothing gets better.
Oh, no, it doesn't. And I believe this, and I've always believed this, you are what you think. My
Yeah.
grandmother used to say, "You are what you eat, you are what you drink, you are what you think." Don't think she was reading Napoleon Hill or, any of the other mind leaders or, mindfulness leaders. I think that was just her philosophy, and I've never forgotten it. And
Mhm.
I am what I think. Listen, I'll be honest with you. All of a sudden, "Oh, man, I think I'm getting a headache." No, I'm not. And do you know what a Pishne is?
I do not, no.
I'm gonna learn you something here. Remember when your uncle would come up behind you at a family reunion and flick the back of your ear with his finger and his thumb? That's
Yes.
Pichenay, and I hated it.
Okay.
I got Pichenayed all the time, so I'll do it to myself and say, "Oh, no, you don't." And I'll Pichenay my ear, and it's like, "Okay, that's gone."
Mhm. Well, I learned a new word today.
Yeah, Pichenay. I don't even know if it's a real word, it's just what I've always called it, but the the lesson learned was stop it in its track.
Mhm.
Don't accept it as normal. Don't be negative. And I'll be honest with you, some days I'll just decide I'm going to be negative and I'll give myself 15 minutes. And then
Ah,
at the end of
yeah.
the 4th minute, I'm laughing because I'm ridiculous. So, that's a verbal or mental Pichet. Just stop it. So, quit whining. But it's interesting. Oh, I wanted to talk with you about, I had written this down, communicate to lead. You talk about DISC and human DISC and human
Mhm.
dynamics. Let's talk about that.
Yes, no, and when I mentioned, the blind spots earlier, I went back to my DISC sessions. So, um, DISC and that communication and personality styles has been impactful to me for years. I remember as an early executive, I was a female about 15 years younger than the males on the executive team, and many of them were Ds on the DISC profile, so just very direct and decisive and not necessarily, connecting with the personal side, and I would be like, "Wow, they don't like me," or they I would just get defensive right away, and it was really impacting my growth, right, or my willingness to speak or to show up, and I went through a DISC assessment and realized, okay, Diana, you're an S. You're the steady one. You're very opposite to the D. That's very direct, and so you can either complement each other because you have, my blind spot is their strength, or you can have tension together. And so I just learned so many lessons around how that helped me to complement and to adjust and not take things personally, and so I take opportunities whenever I can to do that type of a DISC communication workshop with teams or companies, or even I have one that I want to do with families and teenagers because that's where you start to hit tension as they become a teenager that we don't get each other anymore. And I start each of those workshops now that I have one eye down. I have a very literal blind spot. So if you sit on my left, I don't see you. I need to be intentional to turn to my left and make sure I see you or make sure I don't run into you.
Right.
And the disc method and communication and tools and training that goes with that, that really helps us to all be aware of where our communication blind spots are and where we need to adjust. So we don't see them often unless we go through the workshop and then we realize, oh, I do have that blind spot. This person can help me. This person, just for me, right? Somebody on my left can help me from stepping into the road and getting hit, right? Somebody that understands my communication blind spot can help me to better connect with others and to appreciate somebody's value that they can add. We're all different, and that can be used for us to work together as a team, or it's not used, right? And it divides teams and families and companies.
I'm going to ask you to explain this to us in a minute, but you said something about teenagers, and I cracked up because when we were teenagers, my mother would say, "You guys are aliens now. You're sociopaths. Call me when you grow up." And I think she kind of meant it, but she identified most teenagers as straight running sociopaths. They eventually grew out of it, most of them. I think I did. I'm not positive. But yeah, she was serious about it. She did not think we were even human at some points in our life because we were that's what's wrong with me. Thanks, mom. But, yeah, I don't think she was exactly wrong, to be honest.
Well, and I think it's I watch this in my teens, right? I don't think they necessarily realize. the change in them, that they're different, that the hormones are kind of ranging in a different area. And I'll find myself sometimes looking at my son and go, "Did you really mean to talk to me that way?" Um, no, I actually I didn't, mom. So, and I think that's been a helpful thing for me, like just understanding and spending so much time on like the disc personality and communication elements that I don't get rattled often. I just kind of pause and ask a question or just pause and look and let them reset. Because it's really helpful to not respond, not to react, but to
Right,
take the
right.
time to thoughtfully respond, makes a huge difference.
I must have known this at some point when I was younger because my mother would say that somebody would say something to me or ask me a question, and she'd say, "Oh God, don't ask her questions. She'll answer it." And I think I mentioned I don't have any filters, but if I'm taken aback, I get very quiet and I look
Mm,
at you, and I can make your ears bleed, or I can just sit back and watch you.
mhm.
I choose to sit back and watch because it makes people nervous. It really
Yeah,
does.
it does, it does. Some people, not everybody, right? That's what's always so interesting to me to watch, how we're all wired differently, and to be able to appreciate that about each other is really impactful.
It is, and let's talk about DISC, D-I-S-C. You mentioned that, you know, D was for direct, but what are the other letters mean?
Yes. No, a D is like direct dominant. So we can probably all think about those personalities that we know in family life or at work. The I is for the influencer. So they're often very engaging, talkative, the life of the party. Um, great need for in teams, right? They're the cheerleader and the encourager many times. The S I mentioned is like steady, that steady personality that keeps wants everybody to get along and work together and keeps that balance happening. And then the C is the conscientious, compliant one, often very detailed and wants the plan and wants things in a very set and rigid way. And so, probably me just explaining those, you can see, picture some people and maybe where some tensions are. And that's what I just really enjoy getting to do workshops with people or a one-on-one assessment with people to help them do the assessment, see where they're at, and then help them identify where there's tension in relationships or where relationships are really strong and go, okay, how is that happening? And how can you adjust to better connect with those that you're struggling to connect with?
I suspect that I'm a D primarily. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I've never taken the test, and I'm going to have to take the assessment. Now I'm
I
fascinated. I need to know.
I'm gonna send you one. I will
Oh,
send you one.
thank you.
Yeah.
Will you walk me down from the ledge when I start crying? Well,
I don't
I
think you'll cry. I
I
don't think
didn't
you'll
know
cry.
that
I
about
think you'll
myself.
go,
Yeah,
yes, I think you go, "Okay, I get this."
I can see me saying, "What the heck?" Yeah, that's not me. I'll tell you what I'm not is I don't think I'm the C. I do
Mhm.
want things done. I want them done properly, but I get them done and I move on. I don't, hang around and worry about it. So I don't know. I would
Yeah.
love to take that. Thank you.
Yes, no, I will definitely send your way. It's been very impactful in my life. I use it, when I have an opportunity to work with teams for the first time, I like to do that first, the DISC assessment and the workshop, particularly if we're gonna do a long project together, then let's make sure we all understand each other before we get started because it helps to eliminate a lot of the tensions that come later on in a project, so
Do you ever have people who just say, I don't want to do this? I'm not gonna. As we say in the South, I ain't gonna.
I certainly have in some companies. I've had people say, "Well, I don't wanna do this. I don't want to attend. I don't need to do it." And I just, it's only gonna take you 10 to 15 minutes. I'd encourage you to do it. And, there's some people that come into a workshop and they don't engage at all. You can tell that they have no desire to be there. And that's fine. I'm still gonna work and engage you, and you're still there. But just for those people, I'm sitting there in my head going, "Okay, the team of people you're in the room with, they're seeing you not want to engage and build a better relationship with them.
I just wrote that down. They're noticing.
They absolutely are noticing, and they're probably going, okay, this is why we don't get along. They don't even really care about me. They don't really want to be here.
Mhm. And now I understand why I really don't like this person and don't wanna chat with them in the break room.
Yeah.
Interesting. You would think, but, logic doesn't normally show up where it should, but you would think that people would say, "Well, if this is going to help me, genuinely help me, and it makes sense to me, I'll go do it." But some people just won't, I guess.
That is correct. Some people just won't, or they are so introverted that the setting doesn't feel comfortable and they never are able to warm up. I work really hard to be transparent at the beginning about my blind spot, my literal one, to help people loosen up a little bit and realize, anything's open here, right? This is a safe space. And sometimes I have to work really quickly to get them into small groups because one-on-one can help break, or sorry, one-on-one. Yeah, one-on-one a group of two, a group of three can help people to open up a little bit. But I certainly admit I have gone through some sessions where they have never opened up and they came in with a frown and left with a frown. So,
Well, they sound lovely. That was
yeah,
my sarcasm. Remember I mentioned that snark is my second language. It's very
that's right.
fluid. Listen, do you have any kind of closing thoughts? We are out of time, and I hate that, but you're going to come back in the new year, and then again when the book is done, the children's book. But this has been such a thoughtful and meaningful conversation, and I really thank you for being here. And you've helped us see that leadership doesn't come from perfection, but from lived experience, resilience, and the willingness, let's underline that, the willingness to show up authentically. And your perspective on turning adversity into impact and using communication to build trust really gives people something to reflect on and apply. So my question is, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with us? Well, two questions. And where can people connect with you and learn more about your book? And your book is on Amazon, by the way.
Yes. Yes. So people can connect with me on, LinkedIn or my website, gritUIUQ.com. I love to connect with people and help inspire them to move forward. And so what I'd leave as like a final thought is we're all going to have things hit us in life, like those knock your socks off moments. We still get to choose how we're going to respond. Nobody can ever take that freedom from you. You still get to choose how you respond. And if you're stuck, find somebody to help you to move forward so that you can live life positively and make the most of your moments.
Oh, thank you. Well, listen, everybody, to our listeners, I hope that today's episode encourages you to try a simple gratitude practice or even explore what we've been talking about today. The DISC program, gratitude, read the book. And my conversation today with Diana Fritz remind us that leadership isn't about perfection or position. It's about showing up with honesty, learning from experience, and allowing life's challenges, and we will have them every day, little, big, huge, to shape us into more grounded, compassionate leaders. And Diana's work reinforces a very powerful truth. The very things that we once believed disqualified us often become the foundation of our impact. So when we lead from who we truly are, we create stronger teams, deeper trust, and lasting influence. Thank you for joining us. I am Denise Griffitts, and I will see you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Diana, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you, Denise. It's been a great way to start my Monday.
There, and the new year. We are right on the cusp of it, aren't we?
We are.
Well, listen, I'll call you in just a little bit. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.